What a great time we're having here on the Fantasy Baseball Fest 2025 between two Joes happens now. And Welsh, officially you're between us. That's right, Joe Orrico's here, and we're going to talk about some players to avoid. Full disclosure, I'm probably going to draft all these guys so they can yell and scream these two all they want about not drafting these guys. I'm probably taking them just for spite.
Have we talked about this, by the way? Like, I have a test for everybody, and I want you to see if you can figure this out. I have never seen it, and I actually think Joe has gone into the developers and he has made them code something. Joe Pisapia is the most hater of haters when you are in the draft simulator and you get your analysis at the end. Mm-hmm. It is like a video game. It's like Tyson at the end of Knockout or Punch Out, where you can't do it. If you can get Joe to love your draft, I want you to send a screenshot in where he's the #1 analyst to do it and tweet at us, because every draft I see, it is Joe Pisapia hates, Joe Pisapia hates, Joe Pisapia hates. I feel like you did it. I feel like you did it, Joe. And I
do it every year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This is notorious in the NFL world. I am notorious for this, that if you get a good grade for me, then it's really different. It's because my ranks are not like everybody else's, because that's the whole point. What are we trying to do here? Always have the same. If I'm not higher on certain guys or lower on certain guys than the consensus, then what's my purpose here? And Joe Orrico, look, it's good to be negative on some players, especially on their value. And I know the first guy that you want to talk about today is one of my favorite guys, who's having a really good spring too. It's James Wood. I mean, I understand that people are very excited about James Wood, and I get it that James Wood is starting to fly up draft boards. He is my breakout from the National League East this year. I think he's going to be a complete rock star. 25 homers, I think he's going to have. I think he's going to blow that 19 out of the water. I think he's going to have 25 steals. I think he's going to be a monster. What are you so worried about when it comes to James Wood, Joey?
There are a couple things. First of all, great to see you guys. Welsh, great to see you back on your feet.
Is it great? Every day you got to see us. It's great.
It's good. Okay, it's good.
That's more. There we go. Yeah.
But with James Wood, I really like him. I just don't like the price. If he was going in the 70s or the 80s in most rooms, then I would be a lot more willing to take a chance on him. I've seen him go in the 3rd round recently. People start moving up players in spring training. They get on the hype mobile and they start running around their draft rooms and pushing players up. For me, I like to stick to the values that I've had throughout all of draft season, whether it's a round value, whether it's an auction dollar value. And then you see guys, Wyatt Langford's another one, but James Wood is also getting pushed up in draft rooms. And I understand the hype, but you also have to acknowledge the 29% strikeout rate. The fact that he does at this point in time have a serious ground ball problem. The launch angle was 2.4 degrees last year. Yes, he hits the crap out of the ball. 52% hard hit rate is great. 11% barrel rate is really good. But if we're looking at him as a 4th round player, as your 2nd or 3rd hitter, as a foundation of your team, I think there's a lot of risk. Maybe he's able to raise the ball more and get the 25, 30 home runs. But I'm kind of buying the projections that say he's going to be around 20. I think he can steal around 20 bases, give you a decent batting average. But I also worry a little bit about the lineup around him. I don't think it's bad by any means, but it's not a juggernaut. James Wood needs to absolutely thrive to return a 3rd round, even a 4th round value. And I just don't see it at that price. And I know I'm on an island here with you guys.
Look, on an island. I am going to just be devil's advocate Al Pacino in this entire segment with both of you, because I love you both dearly. You're wonderful human beings and you're wonderful analysts. My other side of this coin is I'm looking at the minor league track record of this dude. 302, 402, 539 slash with a 941 OPS. I mean, the guy, that is elite level stuff. And of course, young players will have their ups and downs and struggle. There will be adjustments, but from everything I've seen with James Wood so far, and what I've seen hasn't been him flying too far in my drafts where I go, oh no, it's untenable. Now that might change in the next 2 weeks. To Joe Orrico's point, if he starts going ahead of some other guys where it starts getting to that untenable place, then I'm okay with it. But he is in that range of players that that I don't care for, like Michael Harris. Like I'd much rather have the upside of James.
That's how you get Joe to hate your draft, by the way. If you put Michael Harris.
Oh, if you draft Michael Harris, it's automatic. It's a big giant
out.
F. But if he's going ahead of Brent Rooker, that's where I'm going to start drawing the line. I think that's where it crosses for me. Welsh, I want to get a super chat in here. So real quick.
Yeah, and then I want to do
James Wood. I want you to break this tie one way or another.
Okay, well, I'm on the firm other side of it. I understand and I don't disagree with the value of what you're talking about when he's pushed up to the third round. When he starts going into like the 30s or something like that, it does feel like what you're doing. I thought you were going to do before the Icarus flying a little too close to the sun. Like he's flying a little too close to his inability to have a return. But the overall hit skills are incredible. And one thing, you talked about the launch angle here, and you can't just throw this on any singular player and just be like, oh, they're going to automatically fix it. But if you want to take a couple, similar, really tall, big, long extended arm type of players that have had big hard hit skills changes, go and take a look at Ellie De La Cruz in his rookie year, where he had a 3.6 degree launch angle. Next season, 9.7. Oneil Cruz, 4.6 in his rookie year. 8.3, 10.5, 9.8. And Oneil Cruz is an interesting one because Oneil Cruz has really big hard hit and big barrel numbers. And that's exactly what we saw out of James Wood this past year. He ended up having, popping this up here, a 10.6 barrel rate, 52% hard hit rate, big, massive average EVs, and only a 2.4 degree launch angle change. I think that can change. Plus, he can hit lefties. He doesn't have lefty righty split struggles. He just has a strikeout problem. So there might be some downticks in there. But like, I think you can look at some previous guys that have had some similar skill sets of hard hit and how they approached launch angle. I think that is an easier change. And I think you will see that change this year, hopefully into the double digits. And if you do, I think James Wood's a 25-25 guy. So yes, I don't want him to fly too close to the sun where you can't return that value, but I'm willing to make my investment on James Wood because I do think there's a sky's the limit type of thing. And maybe he goes one way or the other. I wouldn't be shocked if he hits 30 homers this year. But maybe that's like my Oneil Cruz, and maybe he does the opposite. Maybe he's a 20-30 guy. I really do think he's going to beat projections though this year. So I get the worry. I'm just firmly on the other side of this specific one.
Don't worry, Rico. You and I can tag team up on the Welsh in just a second. I'm sure that's coming around. So
I was going to say Oneil Cruz is a great comp because he's another guy who has all the tools, all the hard hit rates in the world, and yet 21 and 22 last year for the homers and stolen bases. I think if you got that in the third or fourth from James Wood, you'd probably be a little bit disappointed. Not that it would be a terrible season, but I think it'd be a little bit disappointing. If I'm looking over the last week, his minimum pick is 38.
Yeah, that's rough. That is absolutely rough. But I'm not sure you would be like, dang, I messed up my draft. If you got 21, 22 or 22, 24 out of James Wood, I really don't think you would. You would just be like, oh, I didn't get all of the upside. And maybe there's a guy right behind it. Passing. Brent Rooker's a really interesting one. Brent Rooker provides absolutely no stolen base upside, but if he hits close to his average, if he hits like 260, 270 and it's 35 plus homers, that might be more valuable than getting a 2020 guy. So I think that can be an argument. But as far as like, we had to pick guys here to pick the guy to avoid James Wood. I'm just on the other side. James Wood and Wyatt Langford are two. I want to get one of those guys coming out of my draft.
Well, I mean, just also throwing this out there too. Oneil Cruz had way more swing and miss than James Wood in the minor leagues as well. All right, let's get to Colt's question here because Colt is waiting patiently. Colt has a super chat. And again, if you want your question definitively answered on the stream today, super chat us. Here we go. 12-team head-to-head Cats OBP League. Already have Ellie, Vlad, Jordan, Westberg. Would you rather have Holiday in the 9th or Michael Harris in the 11th? You know my answer to this one. And by the way, looks like Jackson Holiday is probably going to be taking some ground balls at shortstop for the foreseeable future. So that's a little extra eligibility potentially. Joe Orrico, who would you like to have here, Holiday or Michael Harris?
It's hands down, not even close, Michael Harris for me. I'm sorry, Joe. I know you don't like him, but in the 11th round, I know you don't like him, but I think a lot of that's because of the cost, because he's a 3rd or 4th round pick. In the 11th round, that's phenomenal. That's really phenomenal. Holiday in the 9th, I think, is not bad, but he was pretty miserable last season. You're projecting massive growth if you're taking him ahead of Harris, especially at a 2-round increase. Harris is pretty much locked into a 2020 in a great lineup. He's a 280, 285 hitter. This one for me is easy.
I know I'm going to be in the minority here. I assume you're going to take him as well. Yes.
I mean, he's more of a value. I'll say this in who Holiday is. If we get to see like the real version of Jackson Holiday, he's like a high OBP guy, and he could be more valuable than him. But I think there's ifs and buts, candies and nuts. Can Jackson Holiday have a Merry Christmas? And I'm not sure that we're there yet. We have questions, and he's more expensive. So in this, even though Michael Harris is not a great OBP guy, 330, 340 maybe at best, 2020, I'm going to take the discount 2 rounds less on Michael Harris and get what I get now, because there's still, even though I do like Jackson Holliday, and we'll talk about him later in the show, I think Michael Harris is a pretty easy one there.
I think Holliday's going to have more stolen bases. I think he has the potential for more OBP, and I think the power will be closer than you realize. Plus, he plays the infield, and maybe he plays shortstop and second base, and that's a very valuable thing to be moving around the diamond. I know it seems like a very no-brainer kind of thing, but I'm looking ahead at the kind of player that Jackson Holliday can be, and the kind of player I already know Michael Harris is, which is fine. He's fine.
That's
Jackson
not
Holliday
a bad take.
Was a number 1 overall pick. Jackson Holliday is a can't-miss kid who came up at 20 years old and failed. Let us not forget that. Let's get over ourselves a little bit, okay? Because last year, if you asked this question, I guarantee it would be a different answer.
But it's not like it, but it wasn't like it's like Holiday versus Josh Lowe. This is like Michael Harris, like a top 4 or 5 round player. That's the only thing that's different about what you're saying here.
It's fine, but I'm shooting for the moon. By the way, there's a troll in the chat as always, and his name is Mike Mayer, trolling me for my Ohtani bets. Joe with a shockingly predictable show Ohtani bet. Yeah, and it wins every year, Mike. It wins every year. So maybe you should follow me on Betting Pros. That's a good spot for you. BettingPros.com. There you go. Go make sure you download the BP app and make sure you're with us for all of that. Let's get to another national, because the guys clearly don't want to invest in this horrible, terrible, no good lineup that I find incredibly exciting this year, that I think is going to be a team that covers on a weekly basis more than people realize, because of the athleticism of Cruz, of Wood, and this guy, CJ Abrams. Now, in all fairness, we've had an up and down relationship with Abrams. He was an extreme value not that long ago, and Welsh and I were buying back in. Now it is significantly more expensive. I get that. So what do you do here with CJ Abrams at the current cost? Because it looks like you're fading him, Welsh, or why?
Yeah, I've been a fader of CJ Abrams, and it is tough because completely acknowledging, you're looking at guys like, if you were to get CJ Abrams' stat line last year out of a guy like James Wood, you would be really happy. He ended up having a 20-30 season, 20 homers, 31 stolen bases. He's like our new modern day Chris Davis. He's hit like 245 or 246 for 3 straight seasons. So you're seeing consistency in there. But I just have some worries. My worry coming into last year was, he was optimizing, and it's not a bad thing to like optimize your hit profile, but like overall it was like it's an below average batting profile kind of across the board. But he also doesn't barrel a bunch, doesn't hit the ball really crazy hard. On average, it's well below average. He just gets the ball in the air. He does a really good job of just like pulling fly balls, getting it out, and he had a 15-degree launch angle. Now, to his credit, last season, he improved his average exit velocity by a mile per hour. His hard hit numbers went up. With that as well, his strikeouts went up. But you take this below average hitting profile, and then you take it what happened at the back half of last year. I am still concerned about that. He did not hit righties this past year. He hit 223. He stunk in the second half. He hit 203 post All-Star break. And then everybody knows he also got suspended. He got suspended at the end of the season for staying out all night gambling. So there's that little head case issue that's going on there. He comes into camp. He's gained a bunch of muscle. It was like 20 pounds muscle. He's had a good spring. I might be wrong about this one, but in that, like, I don't believe in the power continue. That's the big one, is like, I think he's a sub 20 home run hitter. I don't feel the need to chase the stolen bases like I have before. So then also, why, if I don't feel the need to chase those stolen bases, do I need a sub 250 batting average? And then on top of it, it's like bad second half, some questionable personal stuff that's going on, and an underlying profile that really just doesn't like play up like, oh, he's going to become a 290 hitter. All of those things have me concerned. And then you look at his ADP, and I just think it's a little too expensive for like the draft needs that I want. So I'm kind of out on CJ Abrams, especially when he cracks inside like the top 60 or 50 or something like that. But Orrico, I don't know if you feel different about CJ Abrams at all.
No, I did a short video on the channel maybe a month ago where CJ Abrams was one of the fades. Another one was Garrett Cole, by the way. But I am completely on the same page as you here. Like, the head case stuff aside with the casino, he was just kind of pedestrian last year, and we're not getting any draft discount. Maybe like a few picks, but this is where he was going last year. 3rd, 4th, 5th round, depending on your format. And I think the stolen base thing is really key, because last year, coming off of 47 steals, you could maybe make the case to push him up a little bit more. Went down to 31. Can he get back up to 40? Maybe, but I don't need to pay for steals with such a shaky profile. Like you've laid out a really good case. He doesn't give you batting average. Doesn't
like
give
if he's
you
hitting 280, if he's hitting 280, we're having a much different discussion here. Much different discussion. Even
I
if
want
it's
to
still the
change the
same counting
discussion,
stats.
if I might, for a moment, because earlier today he came out of a game, hit a triple,
He
then
did.
came out about an hour or so ago.
Oh, really?
Of course, this from the Fantasy Pros news desk, which is pretty much just Mike Mayer on a hamster wheel with an iPad. I think at this point he's just running around. He's always typing the news out. If his value slips, let's say maybe it's a hammy or something, I'm just kind of spitballing here. If for whatever reason any sort of injury sets him back here in spring, and you see that ADP start to drop to 75 to 100 overall, Welsh, would that change your tune on Abrams? Would you buy back in then?
Yeah, like one thing is I'm not like, I can be a little agnostic about players sometimes. Like I don't have many players where I'm like, I'm out. Like, you know, like there's no chance, there's no possibility. Like, sure, if he came at better discounts, but you know, there are some shortstops of some decent value. You know, something in the chat I think a couple people have talked about was, hey, would you rather take CJ Abrams inside the top, 50 or wait for Bo Bichette? Now, Bo Bichette's not going to probably provide you any stolen bases, but if I could wait 50 picks and round out my team in other spots and take Bo Bichette, let's say at 95 or 100, I'm going to do that for batting average and a jump back in homers. But yeah, if Abrams dropped closer to the like 80 range, then I think you're mitigating a little bit more risk, but I still kind of stand firm on where it is. But if he repeats, hey, listen, 2030, we'll all kind of, Rico and I will be wrong about that.
All right. You know what? Bo Bichette's injury last year, I'm curious with the contract coming up here and with the new rules changes, maybe we see a little bit more stolen bases from Bo Bichette than we think. We are going to continue with another super chat question. Before we get to it, quick shout out and reminder, if you're getting ready for your drafts, use the Fantasy Pros mock draft simulator. It's got complete realistic mock drafts you can run in minutes without waiting in between picks. Of course, at the end, I will probably hate your draft, but hey, that's part of tough love and learning. You can tailor your mock drafts to your league specific settings, including roster configurations and scoring systems, receive instant feedback and draft grades like mine, or maybe a better one like Welsh, maybe a B+ from Welsh and an A- from Joe Orrico. That way you can refine your strategy and gain competitive edge over your league mates. Prepare confidently to dominate your draft with the cheat code, and that's the mock draft simulator at fantasypros.com/mock, or again, just download MLB Draft Wizard wherever you get your apps today.
Someone asked, by the way, how do I get Joe to hate my draft at the end? That's how you do it. You can sync your leagues, or you can just go into Draft Simulator, lock it up, do a draft, and at the end, you'll get all the insights that we give, and you can show Joe hating you.
Hashtag free hate. Let's give some love here to GTOS. Where was it? Oh, no, there it is. Here we go. It's from don't give him the stick. Worried about Devers' shoulder, not playing yet. Is it time to start panicking, Joe Orrico, here for the soon-to-be DH of the Red Sox? Yeah, that's right. I said it.
Yeah, I mean, he should be the DH. He's locked up until he's like 36 years old. He's not playing for another big contract. They should sell him on being the next David Ortiz, and that's the way that they should go about it. But the shoulders, both of them were hurt last year. They're slow playing him in spring. He's not happy. You got to move him down. Like I think he's been going for the most part in the Machado and Riley tier, but I think he's got to go down at least a full round below them to the fourth for me personally.
I love the stat on Devers, which he's led the league in errors at third base, 7 years in a row. I mean, come on.
But Casas is like, he's the guy. He's like the best third baseman. But I will remind everybody, you remember we did have this last year too with Devers, where it was like at the end of spring training. Remember, it was like, hey, by the way, there's this issue, and then everything seemed slow played, and then he just ended up bouncing back. I think he actually might be in a better situation right now if he's being forced into DHing than ever before. That I'll actually take a discount. So just throwing that out there.
Discount. Yes, I feel like he's going to pout and moan a little bit, but we'll see what happens. We got another super chat here too. I want to work this one in here from John. 10-team head-to-head OBP categories. I'm keeping Churio and Langford. Should my round one target be Mookie or Lindor? Ooh, that's embarrassment of riches. Or take the best player available in Tucker or Tatis. Hot take. I don't know if those are necessarily the better selections. Tucker and Wrigley isn't exactly my ideal scenario. The wind blows in just as much as it blows out sometimes, especially early on for Kyle Tucker. It's something I would just be a little bit more aware of. Churio and Langford, really good situations there. I don't think you can go wrong with Mookie or Lindor. With Mookie, Welsh, you get the position flexibility. with Lindor. He's hitting in front of Juan Soto this year. He seems like a 30-30 lock to me. Where are you at with this? You can only keep one. Who would you take?
That's Mookie. It's an OBP. I mean, Mookie's 370 OBP last year, 400, 408 the year before. By the way, the guy's hitting around Mookie, also not too bad. And
not too bad.
Ohtani and Teoscar Hernandez. So yeah, this one is clearly Mookie for me. But I understand the question. It's all right.
The guy's got 2 more players to fade, so let's talk about them here. And the next one here on Joe Orrico's list, another big name, a pitcher, Luis Castillo. And I understand this one. I know last year maybe a slightly disappointing year for him based on expectations. But at the same time, Joe, I mean, this lineup really didn't do him any favors. He ended up with a 3.62 ERA. I feel like he is a guy that's been around a long time and people just take for granted. I don't see his ADP really being too difficult to grasp. So why are you having a hard time wrapping your mind around drafting Luis Castillo this year?
I think an injury's coming. I think based on the last couple of years with the way his fastball velocity has been trending, it's gone from 97 to 96 to 95 in consecutive seasons. That's pretty concerning for me, especially as you're getting older. He's not old necessarily, but age 32, you could start to see some signs of decline there. The strikeout rate went down to 24% when it had been in the 27s. The whip was the highest it had been in a couple of years. Still not bad at 117, but you're also looking at the stuff going downhill. Again, not dramatically, but it's just the trends, 116 to 109 to 105. And then there's the ballpark and the lineup. So the ballpark is fantastic in Seattle. You're going to start him there, but that's 16 starts. The other 16 come into question a little bit. The home and away splits last year, not just for him, but for all Mariners pitchers, really, really favored them at home. So on the road, he was about a 4.3 ERA, and I just worry with the declining stuff and fastball velocity and the team around him not being so good. What am I going to do with those other 16 starts? I feel like there's a good chunk of them where I'm going to want to sit him. And I also think that there could be an injury on the horizon, just the way that fastball velocity has been trending.
Well, an injury already happened to Ronald Acuña last year. He's got not 1, but 2 bionic remade knees. And I know last year, or should I say last time this happened, everybody was so concerned. Well, Ronald Acuña, when he comes back, we don't think he's going to run that much anymore. And that was wrong. He did, and he looked great. And that was before the rules changes for Ronald Acuña as well. So just kind of throwing that out there. When he came back, he played in 119 games and stole 29 bases that year. It was the power, ironically, with only 15 home runs that actually lagged behind. Then he had the 40-70 season, and it was tremendous. So Welsh, I understand the Ronald Acuña price is still basically a 3rd-round pick. I'm very apt to do this in a shallow league. 10, 12 teams. Lock it up. I'll take my chance with Ronald Acuña. I will get by for the first 6 weeks of the season or whatever it takes to get Ronald Acuña back. And even if he doesn't play well, until maybe June where he gets a sea legs under him, I'm willing to bite that bullet. But I do understand when you're in a 15-team league, when you don't have guys playing, it's very difficult. And this is the second knee. So let's talk about Ronald Acuña and why you are struggling with his value in 2025.
Yeah, Acuña's fascinating. This year in fantasy baseball is a little fascinating as well, because I feel like more than ever, we have this context of shallow league guys that move way up. Who has that been? Jacob deGrom. Everybody from Nick Pollock to Eno will say, hey, in a 10-team league, Jacob deGrom moves up. I would say Spencer Strider's another one of those. He moves up. And Acuña, and the same thing. I don't really disagree with you. In a 10-team league where you're coming back, all your picks are coming quicker, you can make do and you can make up for that higher investment. Yeah, sure. 15 teams, it's pretty tough. Listen, Acuña is moving up into the 2nd round in a lot of spots. I think it's pushed closer to 20. So you're talking about like in a 15 team, like mid 2nd round pick, not a lot of 3rd rounds. And I think he's a superstar. He's a superstar of players, but I think, investing in a player that is hurt right now, that is also telling us a couple other things. It's not just, I see there's like a Mike Trout comment in there. Like Mike Trout.
Oh, it's the troll. It's just Mike.
Yeah, he's trolling. But like, there's a couple ways to look at it. There's Mike Trout. Mike Trout, perpetually injured. He's amazing when he's out there. Like, there's that risk. There's a player that is injured right now, has to work up to it, and will be back at some set point of time. That's scary. Now, there's a third element of this. Take into that Ronald Acuña is also telling us, like, I'm probably going to do stuff different this year. Like, the running is going to come back down. So they're also telling us some part of this stat line is theoretically going to change. As well, just to throw out, like, obviously there were injuries, but like barreling went pretty down last year. The hard hit percentage went down. He went back to his old kind of strikeout ways from that insane, crazy year that he had. And there's all this missed time. Just saying there are so many question marks. I'm like the guy that's like, oh, well, this guy's amazing. And all kind of like blinders to injury risk. And like, I'm in on Trout this year. But there's just something about the cost of Acuna into the mid-second round with him telling us he's going to run less, with the theory of when he's going to come back, that I just don't think it makes any sense into the second round. There's 100% scenarios where you can do it. If he falls into the third or fourth round, if you're playing in smaller leagues. But I think right now, if you're talking about players to avoid, I'm avoiding taking Ronald Acuña in the second round.
I think the second round is too expensive. Third round, I'm 100% listening, because this is a guy that can win you leagues. And I would say this too, especially if you have playoff formats, I'm willing to do it. In season long roto, I get it. Like, you might be behind 6 weeks, potentially.
I agree. I know what
you're saying.
You
can backdoor your way into the playoffs, and you're a good fantasy manager, and you know how to find gems in the waiver wire, and you're going to be good at, or better than the rest of your league mates drafting guys on the bench, then you can afford to take the risk of Ronald Acuña, because when you get to August, September, whenever your playoffs run, Ronald Acuña could be a difference maker there. And look, maybe we'll be slower this time around. I can tell you this. Last time around watching Ronald Acuña, he did not look right. And then the knee issue was not a surprise to me, because he did not look like Ronald Acuña last time we saw him. And I could tell something was off, something was wrong. Just like I still thought something was wrong with Garrett Cole even when he came back last year, and everybody told me I was crazy. And I am crazy, but I was also right about that.
And to Mayor's comment, Mayor in the chat goes, well, what does run less mean for a guy who's still 73 bases, 45? Well, how about 29 when he did that in over almost 500 at bats that year prior? Maybe that's closer to what it looks like. I mean, we don't know, but that's the problem. There's unknown. So if you think you can make do with a second or high third round price with unknowns, and you're in a draft where you can make that happen, then God bless. Go roll with it. 15 team, that's just a lot harder. 12 team, kind of the middle ground. 10 team, yeah, absolutely, guys. Third round, he is closer to a third round. It makes a lot of sense.
God bless Joe Orrico, who's going to be back with us later. We love having Joe here on the channel.